If you have a son or two or three, maybe, this episode is for you. Hello there, welcome to Parenting Hacks with Dr. Yanina. As always, it's such a pleasure to have you in this show. And today I am super excited because I have a special guest. And my guest is my daughter, Naya. Naya, hello, welcome to the show.
Hello.
And today we want to talk about boys. Yep, you got it. We want to talk about boys and we want to talk about respect. And of course, as you know, I have a son who is 18 and I have a daughter who is 15. And you know, when we have sons and daughters, we want them to grow up to be respectful. We want them to grow up to treat each other fairly and respectfully. And that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about how we can, or what can we do as moms to help our sons to be respectful towards girls. And now, yeah, we had a very good conversation the other day about that, about boys being disrespectful towards girls, you know, as you had witnessed sometimes in school, and maybe, you know, and you were quite upset about that. And our conversation was so intense that I figured, you know what, this is something that I would like to share with other moms, especially if you have a son, because the reality is that we cannot know what our children are doing all the time, you know, because, you know, we all have different lives, and as much as we want to know what our children are doing, it's almost impossible. Because they go to school, or we are at work, or whatever it is, and we have different things going on during the day. So we don't know exactly what our children are doing in school. But one of the things that you brought up, it was the whole idea that you have witnessed a few times how some boys have been quite disrespectful and mean to other girls. And you have seen it so many times that, you know, you were telling me how upset you were. And we said, well, you know, let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we as moms can make sure that our sons do not grow up to be disrespectful towards girls. And you have got a few points and you had a very strong opinion about that. So let's talk about what you have witnessed. You know, let's talk about how you feel when you see a boy at school that just says something not very nice to a girl based on how they look, based on their appearance, maybe based on them being boys and the other ones being girls, or maybe justifying, well, I'm a boy anyways. So why don't we talk about that?
Well, in school, I see a lot of boys that, like, it's really popular thing that a lot of boys do is, like, they judge a lot of girls behind their backs, like, about their appearances and stuff, and like, they'll say things about their weight or, like, certain things in their body and just, like, diminish them and talk about them poorly. And I see it a lot, like, they don't really care how it affects girls a lot of times, because girls really take that into heart when they, like, you know, will, like, do something with a boy or something, and then the boy will just make up things or exploit them. So, for example, I know, like, some people in high school, it happens a lot in high school, they'll, like, send pictures, like, nude pictures and stuff, and to boys, like, if they were dating or if they trusted them, or guys a lot of the times ask girls a lot, which is disrespectful all in itself. And I think that parents need to talk to their kids about respecting women's bodies, especially because it happens a lot more than parents think. And I've never, like, really seen a girl, I know it probably happens, but I've never really seen a girl ask a guy for a picture without even knowing them.
For
like,
a nude picture.
Yeah. Or for pictures of, like, you know, certain things of themselves. And you know, sometimes girls will do it because it's a lot of pressure that I feel like girls in high school go under when, like, with all these things. So if they were to send them, a lot of the times you see boys sending them to their friends and exploiting them, when if they ask for something like that and then they receive it, they should keep it to themselves, like it's like a girl's trusting you, you know?
Right.
And then they exploit it and they talk about them like badly and all these things, and then when it gets out into school and like everyone knows, and then girls get like slut shamed and just completely like their reputation is over. But then when guys send it to girls like without even ask, like they don't even ask, they just send pictures of their to girls, then no one really says
Their
anything.
private parts.
Yeah, no one really says anything. Like they don't get slut shamed ever. They don't like, their reputations aren't over or anything. I think it's very unfair, and I think that boys need to learn, like they need to be taught, like you can't ask stuff like that. Like it's just plain out disrespectful.
And it's
to
also
a girl.
illegal.
And it's
illegal.
and it's spreading child pornography.
Right.
Which is illegal, and it really like has a bad impact all in all. And that just I see it all the time in school. And yeah,
and of course we're not talking about that every single boy is like that or every single girl is like that, but the whole idea of boys asking something from the girl to prove that they loved them. So in other words, it's like, okay, if you really really love me, send me a picture of your private parts or of your naked, your body, and that will prove that you really love me, right?
Yeah, and
then they don't.
Go
ahead. No.
It even happens, like, a lot of the times it's, like, not even people that are in relationships. Like, it's happened to my friends, like, just people from our school that think that they can do that, and then just, like, ask, and then if you say no, then they, like, will make you feel guilty for it.
Right.
And then that's why a lot of girls end up sending things, because then they'll make them feel guilty.
Right.
And then it ends up becoming a big situation.
Right. And when a girl feels, or when a girl receives that kind of request and don't share that with their parents, because the first step, and you will hope as a mom that if your daughter is receiving a request, if a boy is asking your daughter for a nude picture, that she will let you know, right? So you can report that to the authorities. But that's not the case. Usually girls will not tell their parents about that, and just because they are afraid of, why don't you tell instead of me? I think it's better if you share what you think. They don't share that
with their parents.
Yeah.
I think like part of it is that they don't want it to be a big deal, or they're like ashamed, because coming from like a girl's perspective, I'd probably like feel really embarrassed if that happened to me and it got exploited and stuff, and like scared in a way too. So I feel like, and then when a girl does, because it happened before my school, and if a girl does come out about it and then like an investigation happens, then they just get judged or ridiculed and stuff.
So they get bullied. In a way,
in a way, like they get like behind their backs, and it even happens like I see it a lot, which is really sad. Like a lot of girls make fun of them or like talk bad about them, but then you have to think like if you were in that situation, like what you would do and how you would feel. And I think that both boys and girls need to learn to like, care for each other and like not talk bad about each other for something that really like you don't know all about.
Right, and it's a moral issue. So yeah, and it's not, again, as I said before, we're not victimizing one gender and demonizing another gender, but this is something that is happening in the schools. The pressure is stronger, and as we get ready and prepare to go back to school, hopefully based on we don't know exactly what it's going to be or what it's going to look like based on the pandemic that we're experiencing, but eventually kids are going to go back to school. And if you think about it, it's very difficult for students to concentrate academically in what they have to do when they are getting all these pressures from peers. And sometimes we as moms, we're not even aware of them. And that's when it's so important that we have conversations about, like this with our sons and daughters, and remind our daughters that it's okay to come to us if they have received a request from a boy that is asking them for nude pictures, or and also talk to our sons about the respect and the whole thing about, there is this misconception, and not all boys are like that, but we still have been dealing with that from generation to generation to generation. The whole idea in which, sometimes boys, as they get older, they think that, somehow whatever they do, they can get away with it. And we see that in school, and this is an example of that. So Naya, as you know, in this show, I share parenting hacks. And this time, in this episode, you're going to be the one sharing the parenting hack. And basically what I would like for you is to share with our moms one hack that they can do to help their children. First, try to figure out if their child, their son, has been being disrespectful. And if their son has been, even if they are disrespectful or not, what kinds of things moms can do to help their son be a respectful gentleman?
So I think like the first part of it is making sure that you raise them in a household that preaches like equality, because I feel like a lot of times boys think that they can do things to girls just because they're boys and stuff, and they'll like say things like sexist things a lot. Happens a lot in school that I see, and just to like diminish people. And I think that it's like really important to make sure you're like preaching as like a parent equality, and that is a big role. And also like just talking about different social things that happen in the world, like that have to do with, assault and stuff like that, and making sure that they know that just making sure that they know to respect women, and like how to talk to them, like how to talk about them, like not make sure that they know that they shouldn't be, diminishing anybody in general. I think it just comes to like not diminishing people and just preaching like equality and things like that. And also I wanted to add one more thing.
Go ahead.
So I wanted to say like if it's really hard coming from a teen's perspective, it's hard to like talk to parents sometimes when it comes to these things. So you just want to make sure to be really patient with your kids, and if you notice that they're like acting differently and like something happened and they're on their phone and like something happened or something, I think that it's important to not like rush and be like, oh, like what's wrong, tell me, because that stresses kids out and it makes them not want to tell you. And I think that it's just being patient with them, and if something did happen and you know that something happened but they're just not telling you, to just like kind of just treat them with like kindness and compassion, or maybe like take them out to a drink or something to help them out. Because even if they don't talk to you directly, I think that just like kind of helping them get distracted by not like directly saying like get off your phone will really help them like kind of calm down, get distracted, and maybe they'll open up to parents.
Yeah, and one thing when we had that conversation that you said that I still remember is the whole idea that moms need to teach their sons that no means no. You talk about, it seems to be that they don't understand what no is about, that no is maybe. So it's the whole idea that to teach our sons that no means no, and that's it. There's no maybe, there's no perhaps, or no.
That's a big thing, I think.
And you mentioned that.
Because when I've seen like in a lot of instances, a girl will say like no, they just beg. They're like, please, like I won't share to anyone, or like all these excuses and stuff. But like it's just respect. Like you just, when someone says no, anybody, if someone says no, then just no. Like it's not that hard. It's not a hard concept, but I think that it needs to be talked about more, because I don't see it at all. And I just think that parents need to just, moms and everyone just needs to do a better job with that.
And we're running out of time. We're getting closer to the end of the episode. But I also wanted to briefly talk about the whole idea of that there are times in which boys will do this because of it's almost like a popularity contest. You know, that the more they can get the girl to send nude pictures, or the more girls they can have sex with, or the more girls they can kiss, or whatever that is, the more popular they become. So it sounds, and we had that, you brought that up too in our conversation, that it's becoming like a popularity contest.
I feel like a lot of boys get like pressured into it too from other boys. I think it also has to do with like just toxic masculinity, because a lot of boys will think like, oh, well, if we do all of this, then like our friends will like us, and it's like cool, you know, it's cool. But it's two girls, it's not, that doesn't, most girls, it doesn't really matter. Like, we just want someone that'll like care about us and stuff.
Respect.
Yeah, and respect. And just, even if you don't like a girl, you should still respect her and everything. And like, it shouldn't have to do with popularity. Like, it should be keeping to yourself. If someone opens up to you, you should keep it to yourself. And just them and the other person.
Oh my goodness, Naya, you have given us so much to think about. Thank you so much for your words, and thank you so much for caring about other boys and girls out there. And, you know, now we have to process what you said and just try to figure out how we can help our boys become respectful adults, or respectful boys, these respectful people. So it's all about that. It's all about not denying what is happening, but acknowledging what is happening and fixing things, you know, getting better. It's all about getting better. So the first thing that we suggest that you do is to sit down with your son and have this type of conversation. And, you know, you have heard perspective from a teenager lady. So now maybe it's time for you to talk about it. Maybe it's a good time, now that we are on summer vacation, to sit down with your son and have a conversation about this, and ask him for his input, asking about how should he treat other girls and ladies, and try to dig in and find out what is his perspective when it comes to treating the other gender. And it will be a good start, a good conversation, right?
Yeah.
And take it from there. But again, we all want our sons to be respectful, and our daughters too, but we're focusing on sons in this episode. We want them to grow up to be respectful individuals, and sometimes it requires a serious conversation with them. So that's why we would like to encourage you to have that conversation with your son. Thank you, Naya, so much for your time. I appreciate it. Once again, it's good to have you in my show. And thank you so much for watching this week's episode. And of course, I invite you to share this episode with other moms. You can share it in your social media platforms. That will be wonderful. And I will see you in my next episode. Bye for now.